Alright, hi folks, welcome back to another Let's Play video, and hopefully I'm looking pretty on the camera. Sure am. We are here, we are going to continue on what we did last time, which is do the month of November. Operation Barbarossa, I think the high tide of Operation Barbarossa, I think officially say are at an end, namely because the good weather is gone. We had the month of October, we had a couple weeks of good weather, saw an impressive German blitz on Stalino, but not so much a good blitz on Smolensk. It still holds by the Soviets. But the Soviet army is, been crippled from all the German attacks. A lot of Soviet formations have been destroyed, but namely the fighting in the Ukraine has been long and tedious, let me tell you. I mean, it's been a long journey for the German army. They've had to fight for every major sector because the Soviets, they just been kind of overwhelmed. But strategically, the Soviets still hold the foothill, or really just the gateway to Moscow, which is this old city of Smolensk here. And it's the main rail line. They also control Veliki Luki to the north. They control Bryansk to the south, and Orel. So really, I mean, all the direct routes to Moscow right now are going to have some pretty strong Soviet defenses. So the German army, I think, has, for all sakes and purposes, been strategically stopped at this point in the war. Maybe they can gain a few more ground. Maybe they can take Smolensk on the next turn. You never know. Maybe they can take Bryansk. We may see a winter German counteroffensive, or winter offensive rather. Either way, most of the operations have come to stand still. And so with that, we're going to have an interesting turn this month. I think the British, I hope to see more activity with the British army, especially that now that December is right around the corner. I want to see the British actually use that extra production to maybe do some operations in somewhere in the Atlantic. We have to keep in mind though that the mud season is going to affect the storm table in the game. And I've yet to talk about amphibious moves. If anyone actually gets this far in the video series, y'all probably will want to see some amphibious moves, but I will definitely be showing some in the game with Operation Barbarossa and the like. Or excuse me, any other operation other than Operation Barbarossa. Probably the best will be the Allied landings in what I imagine will be somewhere in southern Europe, maybe Italy, could be Greece, right? Could be France. Those are the usual suspects. Could be Norway, where I will talk about the amphibious rules. But for now, I know that the Allies definitely want to prioritize gaining naval supremacy if they can, because right now they don't control the Middle Seaway. That's only going to change. It's only going to change in one of two ways. Either they can take a naval base in Norway and kind of take it under the nose of the German Navy, or they can secure all of North Africa, including French North Africa, gain access to the Middle Seaway, and then they will have supremacy. Either way, we're going to have a lot of North African territory to take, including all of French North Africa. Those are 3 colonies, plus Libya. So 4 colonies that the British have to take. Right now, all we have is Egypt, and we have a little bit of eastern Libya. But I mean, I don't think we're going to make substantial progress in Libya until we actually break loose the German and Italian defense here in essentially around Benghazi, major naval base there. And we got to take that naval base, and then the odds look a little more favorable for the Allies. But the real question is are these British units strong enough? I mean, they're at full strength, but do they have enough firepower to go toe-to-toe with whatever basically the Italian units and the German Africa Corps? It's hard to say. I'm tempted to bring a British reinforcement around, but I just I know that logistically it's going to take a while for us to send it, and I would rather use it hopefully in French North Africa if we can. So the sooner we can invade French North Africa, the better, but that's not going to occur until summer 1942. So we're still about 7-8 months away from that. So anyways, I'm going to finish the log file from last turn. I'll start the new log file. It's going to be 11 for November 00. And hope you're all enjoying the music too. Shout out to the lo-fi, all copyrights go to them, of course, and all that good stuff. These are simply just entertainment videos, not even monetized videos. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and start the Allied production. We can look at the Western Front production. We're down to 7 on the Western Front, which is not a whole lot. Not enough to build any ground units, really. I mean, I could build up a infantry unit if I want, maybe build up a veteran unit. I wanted to launch an amphibious invasion, if I can, against Norway, but I want to make sure it actually succeeds. Right now, I think attacking with one unit is not enough. I could try to secure the ports, which are vacant. I can secure these Norwegian ports, but the problem is that I'm still vulnerable to the supply rules, which, there's going to be a dice roll every now and then. It is a 1, but if we look at the stats here, for sea supply, neutral waters, there's a 50% chance that my supplies can get through, which are pretty low odds, and for every turn that I lose supplies, my unit's going to take a hit. So, I don't know. I mean, even if I secure Stavanger and Haugesund, both of these areas, I mean, I'm going to have to find a way to move up, right? I'm going to river assault. I mean, maybe I got to land from the north, but then I got to go through all this mountainous terrain. Look at this double march. No way, right? So I mean, I think I would vote that the best course of action is to launch an amphibious invasion and a paratrooper landing there both. I think that's our best chance of success. The only way that's going to be really realistic is if I deploy this HQ, this British HQ, and actually move it somewhere else. And then we also have to keep in mind that the mud rolls for weather. If I look at the production, I look at the storm table here, you're going to see that Western Front, Eastern Front. The Atlantic Basin can be rolled on a 5 or 9. So there's maybe a 1 1/4 chance that we get storms in the Atlantic Basin. If that happens, this entire body of water won't provide any kind of supplies, which is a bit of a problem. Or I think I had to double check those rules actually. What are the rules with respect to the storm tables? So let's find out. And I'm going to go in the rulebook again. Victory section, map edge area section, talking about minor powers, the war and peace, all the diplomacy rules. Yep, more war and peace. Sea power. Probably going to be in here, you would think. So we had talk about naval supremacy, seaway control, sea movements, sea invasions, especially some Northern Front special rules with sea power. I'm not seeing anything on storms, which is really what I'm looking for right now. Repulse, invasion, dispersal, sea assaults, sea invasions, sea movement, sea supply, sea control, sea areas, nothing. So if I keep going further up the rulebook, further north in the rulebook, we will find a section on weather. Just get a good feel for the weather in the game. It's somewhere up here, I'm pretty sure. Introduction, or maybe it was later on in the book. Well, here's the table of contents. I think it was actually later on. We're looking for weather, air power. There it is. So I skipped it right after production. Somewhere around here, I think. Combat fire, hex control, rail supply lines. Here's production. And I'm actually looking for weather. Here we go. Weather determination phase. Alright. So now we just go in this rule book. We dig around, and I'm looking for storm tables. Something about storms, sea storms. Here we go. Storms affect all sea areas within specified sea basins. And here are the effects. It says no sea invasions can occur. Sea invasion movement can occur. So that means we're not going to be able to move units in and out of a contested hex. Those are basically the sea invasion movements. And then it says beachheads are disrupted and they lose their supply and port abilities. So basically beachheads are not strong enough to withstand storms, but storms have no effect on sea supply and the regular sea movement. So it goes to show that those transport ships, yeah, they may be susceptible to U-boats, but they have enough hull integrity to withstand the strong storms of the Atlantic Ocean. So that's good to know. And so yeah, we're going to so I'm just kind of trying to build a strategy here, so if I do secure these ports, I'm not going to lose supplies because of the weather. I would lose supplies because of the Axis naval interdiction, right? But if we do control Hogsoon, it would take us a couple more months to get an army moving up north in the mountains, but then be in a position to river cross. And I'm pretty sure that river cross, in conjunction with a paratrooper invasion, a sea invasion, we may be able to at least pull off a good landing there. I'm not sure, but I know that the more units I can stack up, the better. And so, I only have 2 British HQs to keep in mind. One of them I can use to move ground forces. The other one I can use to do the paratrooper move, right? The Supreme HQ can fully dedicate itself to the paratrooper drop. And those rules can be read on the paratrooper section of the rulebook, which I'll go ahead and show right now. But you should, by now, probably, I shouldn't say should, but no, I shouldn't say should, my mistake. I'm starting to sound like a teacher, and we don't want to do that. I'm just trying to make the point here that, there is a whole section on paratroopers that you can check out. It talks all about the paratroopers. Of course, it's a little in-depth. Like most of these rules are a little bit in-depth. Take a little while to get used to, but to think about it in simple terms, if you're using a special HQ, you're using an HQ in a special way to move a unit in a special way. That's all you really got to worry about. And hopefully that helps. If you focus on that and not overcomplicate it, you're in good hands. But basically, if I decide to use the Supreme HQ for a paratrooper drop, it has to dedicate all of its movement to just that operation. I can't use it to command any other ground units anywhere else. So that means I only have 2 moves. That's something I gotta remind myself of. So if I do decide to do a paratrooper move, which is still possible, I can move this HQ all the way to the Shetlands. Ideally though, we could have 2 units there. I could move 2 units in one move. Have a paratrooper drop that's in range of Bergen, or I can just send 1 unit all by itself. Of course, the chances of it succeeding are that much more slim, which would be kind of annoying. And that's the problem I'm dealing with. It's just that the actual hex that we're going after is just 1 hex, and it's kind of hard place to reach. And I could move this HQ further north, but it's going to take a while. It's going to take me a couple of turns. And then, of course, the weather will stop the actual amphibious invasion. So there's the other nuisance. And I'm pretty sure this HQ will be disrupted in the mud season too, unless it stays in London. So really, I can only send 1 unit into Bedlam. And its chances of, if I send an amphibious unit for that invasion, right, look at the most direct attack. We're doing a sea invasion with an amphibious unit, and it's neutral. Okay, so we have about a 1 in 3 chance. Either rolls a 1 or 2 that we get repulsed. So it's just like a river crossing. Even then, against 2 units, a river crossing is pretty low odds of success. So I'm right now starting to vote away from Norway just because I don't know where to put my ground units, right? And as far as doing a long-term campaign against the Germans, I can look at any German reinforcements And it's right now, I mean, I'm not seeing any German veteran units. Oh, here they are. We're trying to avoid the blue veteran units. If there's any more that will arrive later on in 1942. I mean, I'm seeing a few in 1941. Over here, 1942, I mean, in May 1942 is when they will receive an extra fortified unit. By then which, our chances of succeeding are very low. So maybe we do try to do a landing now. And we'll play the long, slow campaign. But the idea is to hopefully get enough units in position to launch an amphibious river crossing. Or I could also just try to get a unit to march through this mountainous terrain. It will be one very cumbersome march, but it may be just the right march that we need. And then we launch a long monotonous campaign across Norway and try to launch flanking attacks into Bergen, and that's going to be our best chance of actually trying to take it. Is we need to isolate it. So we're going to have to be actually extra aggressive with our units. So stay tuned for that. So anyways, back to British production. I'm going to move it to November, and they're going to have 7 production extra for the month of. Oh, we are in November. My mistake. We're going to move it to December rather. So that's that with the British. We also got to do the Mediterranean front production. They're at 25. They got a lot of good rolls this time. What is that? That's 12, 14. 14 plus 10 is 24. They almost maxed it out. And unfortunately, we don't really have any units to spend it on. Of course we don't. You know what? I think I'm gonna. That 14 would be so silly if I spent it, wouldn't it? So you know what? I am gonna save it though. It was just too high of a roll not to save it. So I'm removing the Mediterranean. They're gonna get 24 next turn. So I have every reason to activate these HQs. That's what I'm gonna try to do. Just try to activate some HQs for the next turn. So yeah, that's what we're going to do for the British. So it's still pretty uneventful for the British. So your production, I think, should be really straightforward. We're going to build up Stavka by 10. Our production is only at, 44 now. Ouch. So we have 34 production left. And I'm really going to try to spend like literally all my production on ground units. Just try to spend them all on ground units. That's the main priority. Rebuild a 14th Corps there. Just rebuild as many Soviet units. In fact, I would rather build up some cavalry if I can. So we just built up 1 ground infantry unit. There's another 6 here that we can build up. There's a total of 7. That's going to be 7 by 4. That's 28 production points. That would leave me with a 6. But I think I would rather build up some other units if I can. Yeah, we want to make sure some of the units that we already have built up have some degree of combat strength too, so that our active reserves are still useful. And I got plenty of those to build up, so let's do that. First, I'm going to build up this guy, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8. Plus 2 more, that's 12. Alright, and that's going to leave me with 22 production points left. 22 production points left. I can build another 6. Build up some of these mech units. they seem to be useful when they're at full strength, like most Soviet units. You want them at full strength. Anything weaker, they're not very useful. So anyways, now from 22, we're at 16 now. And then those 16 can be spent, I think, on building up some more units. We can build up 4 more units. Let's go ahead and do that. And it is November, so we do get some reinforcements. I'm frankly not really sure where to place the reinforcements. I'm not even sure where I want to attack with the Soviet army. Because frankly, the Soviet units, even though the Soviets were able to set up relatively strong defensive positions, when it comes to offensive action, I will say that the Soviets feel much more at a loss, and that's because I just find that most of the Soviet units are not strong enough to attack. We don't really have any armored units. We have a bunch of infantry. They're good at defending, but they're not really great at attacking. And we have the mech units. They pretty much are the same thing as the infantry defending. And then of course there's the whole problem of logistically moving more units to the front line as well. So altogether, I mean, I'm not going to spend anything on armor. I'm going to spend everything on rebuilding the cadre infantry first and foremost. I'll put another infantry over here. I probably should build this guy up. Sevastopol, and I meant to do that earlier in the game. I did not. Any other infantry I want to build up? We can build up this cavalry, for example. There's one more unit that I think I was going to cancel, and it's building up this unit here. So we got ourselves 4 more. I spent 2 in Sevastopol there. That leaves me with 2 more left. And I'm not really sure what to build. Maybe I build up another unit. Maybe this guy, 40th. You can build it up if you want. I think we will. And then as far as reinforcements, we can actually deploy this second army right there in Orel. And I think we're probably not going to send these 2 units, not for a while. We also get the Soviet beachhead marker. So for any future operations, we got that in store. I think the Soviets, my general takeaway right now is that the Soviets have a very strong army for relative to their German adversary to defend, especially when you factor in the terrain advantages, all the double defense terrain sectors the Soviets have. Also, what else? I mean, what else is there to factor in? I don't know, the fact that, yeah, the Soviets have just a lot of double defense areas. Some areas got river defenses. Another thing to point out is that the German army is not as strong as it was at the start of 1941. So a lot of their units are like an average of 3 combat strength, not 4. So the gap between the strength of units is maybe about the same actually, but the German units are proportionately weaker, like the Soviets, and so that's another thing to point out. And that's also, I think, the main thing that's holding back the German army really is the logistics. If we had more HQ points, we would have been able to launch more attacks. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm not too concerned about the Soviet setup right now. But I just don't think it's I don't feel very confident in its ability to attack any of these German positions. That's my general consensus. Germans are got some pretty dense defensive lines of their own. So I would really argue it's a strategic stalemate right now for all intents and purposes. So it's not that the Soviets succeeded at stopping the Germans. I really feel that the Germans stopped themselves. Their own logistics just ran short. I don't know if the Soviets can really give themselves any credit there. But anyways, that's the Soviet production. We can switch over to the German production now. hope you're enjoying the video so far. Being able, whoever ends up watching this, but as you can tell, I love production. It's probably my favorite turn in the whole game. It's certainly the easiest to understand. I'm going to build up these HQs. These 3. Build up these 2. So we're a total of 50 production points were just spent. And as far as the German production, we have 69 on the Eastern Front. So that's going to leave us with 19 production points that we can use to build up other units. And the real question is what do we want to build up? You know, it's not a whole bunch. It's like maybe about 3 or 4 units. I would probably start with trying to build up all the other strength German infantry. Let's try beefing them up. And what I really want to see is as many level 4 infantry as I can. Once I have level 4 infantry, I'm going to start feeling a lot more confident about my defensive positions. Right now with level 3, the situation is a little tenuous. So anyways, I'm going to build up these 3 guys. So that's 12. That leaves me with 7 more production points. Not a whole lot. I can build up maybe this unit. That's going to leave me with now only 2. And actually what I want to do, I'm actually going to build up a mech unit instead. Because it's more cost effective. But, you know, I could also maybe forego one of my HQs here. Like Army Group A's HQ, maybe I forego it. I don't know if that would be a wise move. And then I just focus entirely on just doing nothing but production. For example, Army Group North does not need to be at full strength. Of course, I would want to if I wanted to make a blitz on Smolensk. But if I decide to forego that, you know, then I can actually build up way more, just stronger units all around, right? I could build up 4 more units now to full strength, which is considerable. We can pull in a Kharkov, you know, put one here in the north. No, don't reduce it, increase it. I can build up 2 more. Let's build these guys up. And that way, I'm just overall feeling more confident about having a stronger dynamic defense. I'm not sure what to call it. Just an all-around better defense. I'm actually going to put this in Salino. I'm trying to fortify Salino and Kharkov. Those are the main 2 areas. And I do think this little division is going to make just enough of a difference to withstand, to have a better defensive potential if the Soviets attack us. And now the flank areas are a little different story. These units are much weaker, but they're also further away from the Soviets. So the Soviets are going to have to stretch out their lines considerably if they want to go back to Kyiv. And so I am sacrificing the German operational potential on Smolensk, right? Although I could try to attempt maybe one last attack on Smolensk and Bryansk. It may be worth it. Try to take these cities in force. We'll see. I highly doubt we'll be able to, because I'm pretty sure we'll keep Army Group North at full strength, but I'm pretty sure the Soviets are the ones who are going to get to have the strategic initiative anyways. But we didn't lose any units during Operation Barbarossa, so that's overall pretty good. Now we also have to keep track of finished production. They were deployed in September, so it's been 2 months, October and November. So they actually technically have 6 production, 3 for each turn. And right now I think I'm going to pass, but on the next turn I'll have 9 production. And I can use that 9 production and maybe build up this Mannerheim HQ, build up another unit. But it's good to know that the Finnish are ready to attack Leningrad as soon as the Germans are. We can send this unit into Leningrad. The only problem I'm seeing is that the Germans are just not logistically strong enough to attack Leningrad. We got a lot of Panzer Corps right now assembled in the center. They arrived a little too late for the offensive that we had in October. And as far as launching attack in November, I mean, we can, but we're going to have to blitz, and there's still no guarantees of success. There really isn't. I'm actually going to increase this infantry. I also have my infantry at full strength while I'm at it too, right? We're really going to try to do a number on the Soviets if we do decide to blitz on Smolensk. We'll see. It may gain very low ground, it's hard to say. But anyways, that's the German turn for production. Do I want to do any diplomatic events right now? Not really. I mean, Hungary's in the war. Oh, we'll try again to unlock this Romanian army here. We just go scroll all the way down. Yeah, I think it's towards the back of the Axis diplomacy, and we're gonna look for dang bug. We're gonna look for where is it? Third Romanian army. Here we go. Balkans pacified Odessa. So we're doing the same thing as before. This time we did unlock this Romanian unit. If I want to be super extra about it, I really don't have to. But I think it would be, I'm going to go ahead and do it at least for this turn. But I could replace it, I can give it a little green stamp on the bottom right corner. And it basically means that it's now free to operate in the Soviet Union. Reduce it to level 3, and we'll delete this other unit like so. And then now that little E means that it can operate in Eastern Europe, no problemo. That's what we like to see. So we got another Romanian army. It's not a very effective army, but at least there's one extra Axis unit that we have. Chances are I'll probably just have it defend Crimea. Or maybe we try to take Sevastopol. We can. But I kind of want to take Leningrad before I take Sevastopol. And I think I'm going to have to move this formation to the north if I want that to happen. So more operations to come for sure for the German army. Hopefully we can take Leningrad without any trouble. Or maybe we'll just do what we did historically and just not do anything on Leningrad and try to focus on other objectives. Maybe we try to go for Stalingrad. I think at that point our forces are going to be spread too thin across the whole front, but going after too many objectives at once. But I would like to take Stalingrad, Maikop. I would ideally like to take Batumi. I mean, really ideal would be that if we could take Baku. If we can take Baku and Moscow in 1942, we have a much more realistic chance of actually defeating the Soviet Union and winning this war as the Wehrmacht. But I just don't think it's going to happen. Not in this game. So anyways, I'm going to end the file. Oh, do I want to do any more production on other fronts? Let's do that. I think we're going to do a dice roll here for our units in the Mediterranean front. I don't know if we've transferred over units. We sure did. 18 production, which is pretty nice. You know what? This time around, what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to start focusing less on the Mediterranean front production. So I'm actually going to transfer some production to Germany. So I'm going to reduce the Mediterranean front production by 5, and then I'm going to increase the Western front production by 5 as well. So they're actually going to go up to 22 on the Western front, but they're going to stay at 20 now, reduced to 20 in the Mediterranean front. And so now we roll 4 dice instead of 5, and we get 11. 11 plus 6 is 17. So, and then 18 plus 17, we get 35 production altogether on this turn. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build up pretty much these 4 units. Build up 2 HQs, which I can do. That's 20. This mech unit is 9. And then this, what is this? Militia unit would be 4. So we spent 33 production. We have 35 together. The last 2 are pretty much thrown out. But if you want to look at the Mediterranean front costs, you just look at the extreme cost table. You can see that the units are pricier. So, that's the extra logistics of these formations. They're just more expensive in this more difficult terrain, difficult environment. And so that's basically that. Finished the Mediterranean front production. I don't have too much to spend on other than HQs, so we should be good against any British attack That should be happening, I imagine, pretty soon. So that's that for the axis there. We have 22 production on the Western Front. Definitely going to build up OKW. That leaves me with 12. I'm going to build up this new core over here. I'm kind of not spend it last time. So that's 6, and then we have 6 left. And then the question is what do I want to spend the 6 on? I probably want to spend it on, yeah, like some militia units. Do we have any other reinforcements that we can send forth? We're about to get 2 more in the next turn. But yeah, I think we're just going to build 1 militia there. And then maybe build up Copenhagen. That'd be our 6. Really trying to focus on militia units as I'm sending them all over here. And then eventually, I do have these understrength German infantry corps. I kind of want to build them up as well. Send them over to the Eastern Front if I can, because we could use the extra manpower. I guess right now I've been focusing on. I think I'm starting on the next turn. I'll probably do that, but I'm just trying to establish a good defense of the Western Europe without these strong German infantry. That's the main idea. Gonna move this airborne unit. So it all comes back to OKH and its ability to do the supreme moves. So it has to be at full strength. And I would have sworn that this unit would have been at level 3. I guess I spent it in October. Yeah, I think I already did. So it won't be until December that's at full strength. That's a bummer. We could use it right now. But yeah, that's going to sum up the German production. And now we can actually start the November turn. And don't worry, I'll go a lot faster. For those who probably want more faster gameplay, I'll probably go a little faster. We'll see how much faster I go. So first thing we gotta do is roll for weather. It is even roll, and that even roll is actually gonna make it snow. Now if I go over to the Western Front and I look at the die roll there, I'll do its own separate die roll, and it's going to be even, so it's going to be dry. Okay, and so now that it's snow, the Soviets are the ones who actually get to roll first. They're the ones with the initiative. So the Soviets get to roll first on snow turns. So that's the one con of having the winter. There's a lot of cons that the winter affects the German army. But one notable con is that the Soviets get to roll first. So even if the Germans want to attack, they still are dealing with the Soviet initiative. And so what I'm going to do, the Soviets are full strength HQ, which is pretty impressive. I'm just going to rotate some units. Pull back my weaker units, because I want those units to be deployed elsewhere. I think we're going to probably, chances are, just try a good old counteroffensive, at also keep in mind that all the units, they can only move one hex at a time now. Earlier they could move a lot more. But I'm just going to try to spread out these units a bit. And my intention here is to have the whole entire front just well protected with units. That's the idea. Now I could advance more Russian units. I don't know if I want to. Maybe I do advance some units. Of course, we're gonna have to keep our eyes wary of some kind of German winter counteroffensive. That would probably be my biggest concern. But I guess the thing to remind myself of is that if the Germans do decide to attack, I I just have to remind myself that you know, they're going to be spending a lot on HQ, and we get the initiative, so we always get to be one step ahead of the Germans. So that's another advantage. And then, of course, if they do decide to attack with their initiative, they're going to attack during mud season, and I don't have to worry about German breakthroughs during the mud. I really don't. So that's pretty interesting, actually. I would say almost a philosophy or formula to the conflict. But yeah, I'm going to try to get as many Soviet units concentrated here. I'm going to try to push them out. I think my goal, if there's any strategic objective, is just cripple the German army. That's really the main goal. I don't really care about taking any new territory. Ideally, I can take Kharkov, but I don't feel confident that the Soviets can. So my main focus in the Ukraine would probably be to just hold out. Don't let the Germans break out of their sectors. Keep them pinned down so that in the future we can take it. But here in the center, you know, with all these German armies, I have a good feeling that if we can put some pressure on the flanks, we could actually see ourselves encircling the Soviet or these German units. And that's what I want to see. I want to be able to overwhelm the Germans. And so we're going to try to put pressure on the flanks. It's all going to come down to our reserve infantry. And I'm seeing that I don't really have much of a reserve right now for the Soviets here in the center. I could build up some more infantry, right? But they probably won't be ready until the end of the winter. So if I want to concentrate an attack here in the center, I just need to remind myself that I'm going to have to pull units from other sectors, a couple units even, over here, just to maximize my reserves. And that's probably going to be our main strategy. So we'll see. I'm excited. I like the Soviet doctrine. It's very different than the Germans. Similar, but the Soviet operations are of much smaller scale than the German ones overall, and they cover smaller distances. Actually move this HQ back to a realm. So there are some notable differences there that do add up. That's what I'm trying to say. So that's going to sum up the Soviet turn for the winter. We'll switch over to the German side now. And we still have this HQ here. You know, if there's any opportunity to launch one last blitz against the Soviets, now would be the time. And I'm going to do my best here with the intel, but historically the Germans were very unaware of the Soviet reserves. They completely underestimated the Soviet reserves. I think we're gonna kind of go in with the same presumption. And so we're gonna go all in with our panzers and really try to destroy the Soviet advance, or secure these cities. So I'm gonna go all in on Bryansk even. Got another Panzer Corps here. Maybe we'll do I want to pull out a Panzer Corps and mech units? I mean, I kind of want to attack with, I may have one unit in. I can just pull one unit out. That's really all I can do. Rotate some formations. I can't really do much as far as sending in new reinforcements in there. I mean, that group would be enough. I'm just going to send in the infantry. It's just going to be an infantry heavy battle anyways. We'll see how well they do. And then I'll go ahead and make Army Group North blitz, so that we have more than one battle on rotation. And we'll see how it goes. I think the Germans are... Frankly, I think they're biting more than they can chew, but we're gonna see. We're gonna see what the Germans do. See what the Soviets do, right? I'm wondering if I should try to build a secondary defensive line. I also got to remind myself that this HQ is disrupted in the winter, meaning that its range is actually going to be reduced from 3 to 2. So it really can't command too many units. Also, that's another problem. And then we don't have any strategic moves. I would want to pull these units out of Stalino right now. but logistically it'd be too costly. It'd be too costly of an endeavor, and I'd rather hold off on that for a little while longer. So yeah, we're just doing one operational move, all out blitz. Let's see how it goes. Let's see if it goes, or maybe we're being a little too ambitious with the German army right now. I think we are, but I'm going to go ahead and do the attacks anyways. They should be pretty interesting. This should be a level 2 airstrike, since it is a level 2 HQ due to the disruption, and we'll see if we can do a better job than what we did last time. I think if these attacks fail, then I know German army cannot break through any further. We're going to try one last time. Maybe we're going to still achieve a tactical victory. Got a lot of Panzer attacking, so let's see how it goes. Oh, and I actually, I pulled out a Panzer Corps. I'm actually going to pull out Infantry Corps instead. So yeah, we're going in all in with our Panzer against some strong Soviet armies. Let's see. Airstrike scores 1 hit. Nice. Soviets get 8 dice. First 2 have double fire. They score only 1 hit. All right. Soviet defense fails. What about the German Panzers? Can they break through? Ooh, I'm getting hits. Nice. We got 5 hits that time. 4 from the Panzer Corps, 3 6s, 1 more from the infantry at single fire. That's the kind of firepower that we're talking about. Germans still have it in them. And now the Soviets are actually losing. They are literally now losing formations. And we're not even done with the attacks. So I think we might be able to take Smolensk now. We're gonna do an attack on Bryansk. Heavy attack, spearheaded by infantry. Same defense as before. Soviets were able to replenish one of their armies. They still have a very strong defense. They scored 2 hits against our infantry. Now I have only 1 Panzer Corps, 3 infantry divisions, or 9 infantry divisions. Boom, they still get score 4 hits altogether. That's 2 hit equivalents because of the double defense of the urban center of Bryansk. Pretty good. So right now Army Group Center is doing much better than what Army Group Center tried to do on the last turn. Alright, so we're going to continue on. I don't really have much in reserves. I have 1 more Panzer Corps that I'm going to send in at full strength. Might as well. And then I guess I'll pull out this weaker German Panzer Corps. And we'll still leave an infantry in there, why not? Over here, as far as attacking Bryansk, I think I don't have any more strong infantry. But I'm going to actually swap out one of the infantry for a Panzer Corps. And the reason behind that is because they have more firepower. And so hopefully we have enough units to hold the flanks. I think I'm going to probably just... Yeah, I'm hoping... I'm going to leave... I'm going to leave only just infantry securing the southern flank. But I have them stacked up pretty well. And then I'm going to move this Panzer Corps. It's going to be part of some sort of reserve. And I'm going to leave it at Mogilev with Army Group Center. And hopefully this is enough of a command ability. In fact, I think I'm going to leave it. Yeah, we'll leave it there at Mogilev. And hopefully we have enough forces to just ensure a strong defense against any Soviet aggression, really. So we should be good. If it's a mud season, we can survive. If the Soviets do attempt a winter crossing, I mean, that is going to complicate the situation. But yeah, if the Soviets do launch winter crossings, it may be an inconvenience. I'm thinking... Yeah, our flanks are super vulnerable. I'm thinking of having a second defensive echelon, perhaps. Maybe a smarter move. Let myself have enough space to have a rear guard to kind of, patch up the front as best we can. I just don't want the Soviets achieving any breakthroughs and, You know, if they have a hidden shock army there, it's very, very easy that they could indeed break through. So, very vulnerable situation for the Germans, I must say. No matter how you look at it, I think it's best if the Germans focus on having a reserve. In fact, I'm actually going to have order the weaker units to stay at the front. I believe at least this unit can go on like that. Yeah, okay. That seems pretty reasonable. Not the best moves, but I'm going to take it. What would be better is if we have actually a mech reserve that was willing to operate down there in the south. So I'm actually going to have this mech move to the south like that. I think this unit, I'm not sure where this unit came from. Let's have it move over here though. And then this mech will, I guess, move up north. No, we're going to just try to dilute our as many of the German defenses as we can. Yeah, definitely a weird situation, but hopefully one where we're able to deal with any sort of Soviet breakthrough or anything like that. I'm now like super worried about whatever the Soviets try to do. They could do a lot. They could be in serious trouble. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. I'm just gonna keep my units spread out as it is for now. I mean, it's really all gonna come down to good management for sure. So I'm gonna stack up my units there if I can. We'll just keep things simple, man. Just stack up our infantry. See how well they do. If we're gonna move units around, we're gonna probably just have to deploy reinforcements some way, somehow. But these infantry are gonna be fully committed. Yeah, decided. All right. Anyways, let's do the airstrike. One at Smolensk. Probably should concentrate towards Bryansk. I seem to really want to take. I'm gonna put the airstrike at Bryansk. It makes more sense. They could use more support. So, anyways, let's do it. We'll start with Bryansk. Airstrike scores a hit. The enemy has 3 defenses. Ouch! They scored 2 hits. Crippling our infantry. We got the 2 Panzer Corps though. Let's see what they can do. Plus the infantry. All right, we scored 2 more hits. So although we cut through the Soviet defensive lines, battered yet another Soviet army, unfortunately we did not take the actual city of Bryansk. So chances are the Soviets are going to be able to reinforce. So that's a bummer. Let's try Smolensk. Soviets only have their breaking point. Only 3 dice. No hits. Followed by the Panzer Corps. Rolling 10 dice. They did not score any good hits. We only scored 1 hit against the Soviets. Are you kidding me? So the Soviets, we did make progress, but we did not secure these areas. Soviets can still reinforce. So that's a dang shame. And the Soviets still control the main sectors. But we did chew out some Soviet armies. So we're going to switch now to the Soviet side. Anything in North Africa we want to do as far as moving units around? Not really. I'm going to wait until this HQ is being built up again before I deploy it. I think that's it. We're going to switch to the Allies now. I know the British have a lot of production coming up. So I think we're going to activate this HQ. And just move this guy over there. So, simple move. Something to spend money on. Now, as far as making a move from the British over here, I think I still wanted to go for Norway, but I'm gonna have to go all out on Norway. We're gonna have to launch a very aggressive move on Norway. Other than that, I mean, the only other thing I could do is try to send another unit around to North Africa. It may help the British. It may not. It's hard to say. I mean, they're getting a lot of production. And I guess we will try. The only unit I'll send is this veteran unit. I think we'll wait another turn to do that. There's no need to do it right now. So with that, Soviet moves. Let's see what we can do. I mean, although we are holding on to these areas, we don't have a lot of troops. So I can either accept the fact that these areas are about to fall, or just try to reinforce them with second tier units, and that's what I'm going to do. We're going to reinforce with the second tier units. And I call them second tier because they're not at full strength. So that's why they're second tier. And again, sending something is better than nothing. Not gonna activate stock just yet. I'm gonna give it another turn. What do I do? We can just send one shock army there. It should be able to withstand against German attacks if they are at double fire, because next turn the Germans only get single fire. So yeah, definitely a vulnerable situation for the Soviets as much as it is for the Germans. So it's not like the Soviets are scot-free. They did lose a considerable amount of armies there. But that's all we got for the Soviet turn. Plus, not only that, but our Western HQ now is reduced to a level 2, so our chances of launching an attack are further diminished. Still, though, not impossible. But that's all we got for the Soviets. Now moving on to the next fortnight. Dice roll, please. Okay, the Eastern Front is mud now, so probably going to be uneventful. What about the Western Front? Dice roll, also mud. Definitely going to be uneventful. And then we can also include the storm tables. So I did 7 for the Eastern Front, 7 for the Western Front. We'll look at the player aid and look at the storm tables. It says 7. It's going to be the Baltic basically on both fronts. Those are the ones that are going to have the storm table. So I just look for a storm icon, put it here, make a copy, put the other one in the Western Baltic, and now we know there's storms going on in both of these areas. So not much activity going to happen over there. Other moves that we want to do for the Germans get the first mud turn. Now, we haven't forgotten about our formations here, our Army Group Needle, but frankly, you know, we have these restrictions on moving units through Finland. Plus, if you look at where they're located, they're really far away. You know, we're going to have to move them via sea all the way around, from the Barents Sea to the Nordkapp Sea, all the way back to maybe somewhere like Narvik. And then once it's there, we can then move it via rail. So these units are just completely just so far north. I mean, whether they're attacking or defending, just getting them both into that region and out of the region is really tough. But obviously, it'd be nice to pull out one of these corps. We can use this mountain corps somewhere else. Maybe I can deploy it to Army Group South, and then maybe we can use it to invade the Caucasus. Right? So there is an incentive to pull this formation out, but it's just going to take a while for me to get it in a position where I can move it across the Eastern Front. I think the easier option would be to get them to Oulu, and then once they're in Oulu, start moving them via rail from Finland all the way to their designated sector. I think that'd be the best option. Or maybe not. Maybe moving it from Oulu is a little faster. We can put it in like Koenigsberg, right? And then, no, it's still going to be far. No, it's definitely easier to move it, but we have Leningrad in the way. That's the only problem. So anyways, Soviet, or rather the German turn, it's going to be mud. I'm not going to use any HQs. No way, Jose, not this time around. So that's that. So yeah, not very eventful there. So we're going to pass for the Germans. Switch over to Soviets. Soviets are also going to pass. They're definitely not going to attack during mud. And they're not going to... Yeah, they're not... They're going to save their production and their movements during the mud. And then the British in North Africa, well, we're still waiting on more HQs, right? Before we make any more attacks. Okay, so that's going to sum up our November turn. We had a pretty interesting battle of Smolensk. The Germans made some progress, but I mean, strategically, the gains were negligible. So he's been able to bring up reinforcements. Other than that, we haven't seen much for the month of November. The Soviets did advance some columns over here, but they did not make any attacks. So what I hope to see is Dig 5 to go away. And then what I also hope to see is a way for the Soviets to launch more strategic offensives. I mean, we have a good opportunity to maybe take Leningrad, right? Retake Leningrad. Establish supply lines from Leningrad. Cut off the 38th Infantry Corps, right? That's one juicy target. Maybe launch counteroffensives here, although I think the last event showed that the Germans are stronger than they look. So we don't really have much firepower to attack here in the center. Maybe they're going to have to find another way. Or they can try to attack Kharkov, although right now, I mean, I know the Germans have a bunch of Panzer Corps in Stalino. And, you know, we have intel knowing about the German mech columns that are nearby. So it's a hard decision to make. You know, what's the best course of action for the Soviets? I think Ukraine can wait. I think Leningrad should take priority right now, because it's the easiest target and it's the one that has the most gain, which is reestablishing a link with Leningrad. Other than that, I think putting pressure on Army Group Center is going to have its advantages, but we're only going to really be able to achieve that is if we can get more reserves hitting the flanks of the Army Group Center, Army Group North. And so we need more Soviet reserves for sure. All these other Soviet units, they don't really make up a reserve. They're barely holding the line as it is, so they're probably going to be inactive units. The only reserves I have, I'm going to have to build them up from scratch, and that's going to cost time and money that otherwise could be used for the offensive. So maybe we wait. Maybe we wait until January, perhaps 1942, before we launch major offensives. I think the Soviets have time. I just want to make the winter as efficient as possible. So that's that. I'm going to stop the turn here. We're now in the month of December. So this would officially conclude our Operation Barbarossa. The Germans are not going to have the initiative anymore now. The Soviets will. And I think compared to the historical progress, the Germans definitely made less territory. They did not secure, all these open areas. They did not secure the Kursk salient, or Ordel, or Bryansk, or Smolensk. or even WWII. So overall, the Germans have gained less territory, but I would argue that the Germans did do a pretty good job at crippling the Soviet army, number one. Number two, they have at least secured the Ukraine, which was a pretty impressive objective, and frankly, it looks like it's going to be hard for the Soviets to take it back. So the Germans have, their forces are overall made less progress, but I think they're overall in better health than what we saw historically. I could be wrong on that. Maybe about the same. It's hard to say. But I just know that this Soviet army definitely put up a much better fight than what we saw historically. Although the Soviet losses were still pretty crippling, despite the better efforts. There was no giant encirclement that we saw at Kiev, Battle of Kiev. So it seems like that pocket got away mostly intact, from what I could tell. But all the other Soviet formations were pretty devastated, right? We had, I think the biggest battle was the Battle of Odessa. I remember the Battle of Odessa was pretty brutal. All the battles leading up to Kiev and through Kiev, Soviet losses were very high, although German losses were significant. The Soviet losses were just super high. I mean, Soviets lost a lot of units in the Ukraine, a lot. And the Soviets put up a really good fight all the way until Kharkov and Stalino. They still have remnant defense force, but most of the Soviet strength was lost in the Ukraine trying to defend. And then to the north, I think the Soviets actually did a really good job of defending pretty much this whole northern area. Most of the Soviet units haven't suffered too many casualties in the north, frankly. They pretty much got away in one piece, but they weren't strong enough to protect Leningrad. But they do have a stable front, and now they can try to take Leningrad back, and that's really what I want to see with the Soviets, is some really strong counteroffensives against Army Group North. And then what else? I mean, WWII, important rail junction. Germans never really attacked it with much force, so we had an easy time defending that. And then the only other major battle I would say was here in the center. The Battle of Smolensk was ultimately crippling for the Soviets in terms of manpower, but strategically, I would argue that it was a Soviet victory just because the Germans have not made any headway. This is as far east as the German army will go in 1941. That needs to be mentioned. Well, technically, it was Stalino that they went further, but here in the central drive, it's important because we know the limitations of the German army, basically. So yeah, thank you for tuning in for this video. I will make another one at some point, but that's all I have for today. Peace out.